Welcome to the first episode of a new series where we'll be learning the basics of coding in Python. For this introductory video, we're going to focus on a brief explanation of Python as a language, its benefits, and actually set up the Python environment so that we're able to actually run Python code. So firstly, let's go over some basic information about Python. So Python's a really popular programming language that's been growing a lot recently. And the reason for this is because it's very readable and very understandable. In other words, it's a lot like English Python syntax, which makes code really simple to understand. And for this reason, it's often used to code projects that involve AI or machine learning because it's really simple to get into and you don't really have to have too much prior knowledge in order to get started. We'll see the benefits of using a readable language like Python when we jump into the next series when we'll learn how to code Python, streamline the coding process by making use of AI. Now that we have a basic idea of what Python is and why it's so popular, let's get started by setting up our environment now. So our first step is to go to this page, python.org/downloads, and then this will take you to a page like this, where there's a yellow download button right here at the top of the page. So it says download Python install manager. So we have to click that and then it'll download a file. Once we've downloaded the file, we can open the file by selecting it in our browser. And then a new window will open asking us if we really want to install the Python install manager. And so as you can see, it's published by the official Python Software Foundation, so it's safe. So we can click on Install Python. And then after it installs, it'll open up this command prompt window. So now it's opened up this Installation Manager configuration helper. And so firstly, it's asking us if we're fine with Python using paths that are longer than 260 characters, and if we're fine with it changing a setting in Windows. So we want to be able to install packages, so we can say yes to that, typing Y and pressing enter, and then it'll say the setting has been successfully updated, and now it's saying that the global shortcuts directory isn't configured, so we can say yes to that because we want to configure Python properly. And then it'll say we don't have the latest Python runtime. We can just say yes to that as well. And then it'll start installing Python. Once it's done installing, it'll ask us if we want to view additional help online. You can view it if you want, but for this video, I'm not going to, so I'm going to say no. And now as you can see, the window closed, meaning Python is successfully installed. After installing Python, we'll also have to restart our computer to ensure that Python is actually successfully installed. Next, let's set up the code editor that we're actually going to code Python in. And so the code editor we'll be using is Visual Studio Code. And the reason for this is that it's a very popular choice. It has high quality support for Python. It has many user-made extensions to streamline coding with Python, including some AI-related extensions that we'll be using in the next series. and it has a lot of documentation and support available in case we have any issues. So to get started, we can just click the download button in the center of the screen here, and it'll start downloading a user setup executable here. Once it's done downloading, we can click on this file and it'll open another pop-up window. So firstly, it has a license agreement here. You can read this if you want to, but either way, we're going to select I accept the agreement and then select destination location. You can just use the default location here. And then a start menu folder. You can either select don't create a start menu folder or just leave it unchecked depending on how you want your Windows start menu to look. And then select additional tasks. Select these two because it'll make it really easy to open a file or folder in VS Code right away. And you can create a desktop icon if you want to. And then here's a place to double check your settings. And then afterwards we can click install. Once it's done installing, it'll say that it's been completed. And then we can click the finish button here. And then it'll automatically launch VS Code for us. So once we've opened VS Code, it should look something like this with a Get Started window open. However, we can actually just close this because we're going to get straight into coding right now. If you want to, you can change those preferences like the theme later, but for now we're going to just create a folder and place to store our code. So firstly, go to File Explorer or Finder if you're on a Mac, and then create a new folder called whatever you want the folder to be. In this case, I'm just going to call it Python Basics because this is the name of the series, so it matches. And then we're going to open that folder and then right click, and then we'll select Open with Code. And then once we click on that, you can see it opens a new window with our Python Basics folder open. Once we've opened this new window, we want to install an extension by going to this extension tab and then selecting this Python one that's been published by Microsoft. If you can't find it, you can just search for Python in the search box right here. And so you can see Python language support is what it offers. And then we can just click install and it'll install the extension automatically. Once it's finished installing, we can go back to this Explorer tab here. And then we can start by creating a new file. So this file, we'll call it main, all in lowercase, .py. And notice how when we type py, VS Code recognized that it's a Python file. So this .py is basically saying that this file contains Python code and that this main.py file can actually be run and it'll produce output. And so now when we create the file, you can see it opens in this larger middle window right here. Now that we've opened the Python file, we can start writing some code now. So for now, let's just start small and let's just type in print. And then as we were typing print, you can see some auto completion suggestions were given to us. It's because of this Python extension we installed earlier. And then after typing in print, and print also has to be all in lowercase, we can type in opening parentheses and it'll automatically generate closing parentheses for us. And then inside the parentheses, we can type either double quotes or single quotes. For this example, it doesn't really matter, but I'll just use double quotes. And then inside the double quotes, we'll type in hello world. And then in order to run the code, we can click on this play button in the top right corner, which says run Python file. And then when we click on it, you can see it creates a new terminal window. And it says hello world, exactly what we typed in these quotes here. So now you can see our basic Python program here is actually working. It's actually printing out the text hello world. We'll explain more about how that print statement works in the next episode, where we'll also go over variables and basic data types in Python. But for now, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.